Happy 100,000 subscribers, everybody! We gosh darn did it! Oh man, what a journey! Look how far we've come! So off the bat, thank you. Holy crap, thank you so much for 100,000 subscribers. It's honestly incredible. I've reached 100,000 followers on TikTok, but it hits different on YouTube. I'm gonna be honest. Thank you. Just thank you so much. Just so you know, my patrons saw this video first 24 hours ago. So if you want to see that first, go become a patron today. But enough plugging. Holy crap. Thank you guys so much for supporting me, watching my content, caring so much about this tabletop game that I've made apparently my entire life and job at this point. But today I wanted to do something that was very different from my usual content. I wanted to do an AMA, just so you guys can learn more about me, ask me any questions you want, you know, just hang out, have a cool, chilled, relaxed vibe. Yesterday I sent out a community post on my YouTube page. I had my fans ask me questions, and I'm going to be answering them starting with the most popular ones first. So, starting off, will you ever register the Fireball as a legal religion with a national holiday for the goddamn beach episode? Well, to do that, I don't know what I need to do that. I think I need, I'm gonna start registering a religion. I think that makes me a cult leader, and I do think that is my character arc. I don't know if I want to do that yet, though, so I'll keep in touch. Who was the first character you ever made? What got you into playing Dungeons and Dragons? Well, what got me into playing D&D, very simply, was, second year university. One of my buddies, messaged me and was like, hey, do you want to play some Dungeons and Dragons? And I was like, sure, guess I've never played it before, so I made a character. His name was Sergeant Bigglebottle. He was a half-orc berserker barbarian, and I love him to this day. He wielded a maul. It was a lot of fun just swinging that thing around and just hitting monsters and destroying the absolute shit out of yetis. Berserker barbarian's a lot of fun at low levels, what can I say? It's trash at high levels, but it was a great time playing him. I still have, I think I still have Sergeant Bigglebottle locked away somewhere. Not a crazy character, just a level 5 Berserker Barbarian, and I love him to death. When will we get our gosh dang beach episode? Can we give Tony a love interest? So, you're never gonna get that beach episode, because, well, when you do, it has to be satisfying, and it has to have a build-up. I will eventually do, like, a series leading up to a proper beach episode, but that's still going to be a while, so you guys can take your time. Enjoy the content while you got it, because once that happens, I will officially end the Forever DM series. I'll put it to bed. I'll need to do something else by that point, but I'll do it when the time is right. And can we give Tony a love interest? Probably. I'll probably do that at some point, because, you know, I'm a little shameless. Do you, or would you ever consider running a game for patrons/supporters of the channel? I have considered running a game, or like running one-shots for patrons before. I just haven't thought of a good method to do that in a way that's fair, and a way that's also not going to eat up most of my time, because running games is not easy. It's not an easy business. Even if I was running like a monthly game for a monthly one shot for like a raffle, that would be a lot of DMing, because then I'd be DMing my Monday campaign, my home game, and then this raffle one shot, and I need to make it worth your time because you're actually paying for it. So I've considered it. Would I do it? Maybe. Stay in tune for the future, but I'm not gonna say that it's not possible. I would need to think about it. It's definitely something that would be far off. How would you personally change the Sorcerer to make it a true contender for optimization, not just Sorlock, Sorkadin stuff, with the fewest overall changes? Alright. So, the Sorcerer needs a complete overhaul. Main issue is its spell list is absolute garbage. My buddy Ballad Boy has actually made a revised version of the... Actually, he's already made a revised version of the Sorcerer and put it on GM Binder. I'll link it in the description. Honestly, those are probably the best changes you can make. He makes changes to meta magic so that they scale with level. A lot of people defend the Sorcerer by saying, well, meta magic scales with the level of the spell used. Well, that's kind of true. Keep in mind, the levels of the spells scale to the encounters so that you're not getting absolutely swamped. So you need something that scales independently of just your spells that you're using, right? You need something that scales independently of that, otherwise you're kind of going to get jammed. Technically, with a fighter, their battle master techniques scale with the amount of attacks you use, right? But even those have an independent scaling feature of you getting bigger and bigger dice. So those also have an independent scaling there. But because Matamagic doesn't have an independent scaling, it as a result is very weak as a feature the longer that you play the class. That's what I think I would change for the most part. Next thing I would do is I'd give every subclass a spell list that is independent of the regular sorcerer spell list. One of the big problems for sorcerers is that they don't have a lot of spells. So as long as if you can give them some better spells, that would be great. Other than that, that would be the biggest things that I would say, because right now it's just a shitty wizard and there's no reason to really play sorcerer other than flavor. If you want to play a sorcerer, you should just play a wizard. That's the current issue. So I'll link my buddy Ballad's changes in the description. I think they're excellent. He did a really great job. If you want to play a sorcerer that can contend with a wizard for being a top tier magic caster, definitely use that. Do you plan on doing with the Broken Character series now that he's killed gods and monsters that end the world? Well, I'm doing what I'm currently doing, which is mostly just using them as shorts. I like the shorts in TikTok format. I think it works better for that style of content. I'm definitely still going to make longer form longer form skits. I just haven't had any great ideas for a bit. These shorts have been quite good for the channel, if I'm being honest. That's how a lot of you arrive, at least 20,000 of you. So I really think that shorts is the way to go for my channel moving forward, but I do still want to make longer form skits. Like I said earlier, I'm gonna eventually get back to making it a series, and when I do that, I'm gonna make the longer form skits the series and then the shorts more like one-offs, if that makes sense. So if you want to watch those and get caught up, go check out the Forever DM playlist. It's up there, I guess. When a player at your table makes a great play while role-playing that makes you shocked, do you make them roll normal, give them advantage, or not at all? I'm guessing, so with the original question, if your player does a good role-playing thing, do you give them advantage or not? Well, I think I stand with most dungeon masters that, yeah, if your player does good RP, give them advantage. They did good, right? Like, if your players make an outside battle plan that affects the in-game, you give them advantage in the combat. So why should that not apply to the RP moments as well? If a character with not a high charisma manages to if the player makes a really persuasive argument in a political situation, you should give them advantage because they made a good argument. The character still did that. Sometimes this can run into tension because I personally am very good at speaking and improvising, but when I play low-int characters, it might not always make sense for them to be making these really empowering speeches. I don't think that you should punish your players for doing that by any means, but I definitely think that if your player does good RP, reward them. You need to be incentivizing that behavior like a dog, like a Pavlovian dog. You know? I don't think you should completely negate the role necessarily. It is going to be situation dependent, but definitely give them advantage. I know your channel is about the combat and mechanic side of D&D, but I want to know, what are your favorite setting to play in? Is it medieval Europe or something more exotic? So interesting. Thank you for the question. My favorite setting is Westerns. I love Westerns. Steampunk Westerns, sublime. I just like I've always liked them, like, the light shining on me. It's really annoying. I've always liked the myth of the cowboy, of like the Western aesthetic and horses and guns and you know, I've always liked that. It's great. Yeah, so Westerns are definitely my favorite. What is your favorite build you've ever done? Oh, that is so easy. That is the Hexblade Bladesinger Fighter, the Forever DM build, as I call it. Because it's the build I'm currently terrorizing for Sir Peppers with in twitch.tv/allongshotRPG every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Oh man, it's so fun. It's such a good build. It has so many attacks. Its damage output is insane, especially at mid-tier. At mid-tier, it absolutely stomps on other classes in burst damage and in just overall turn-by-turn damage with a little bit of setup. It's stupid. I love it so much. Video will be here. Click here if you want to see what that build is. Probably also link in the description. Probably won't, if I'm being honest. Would you ever consider doing a series of on ranking bad homebrew? I would consider doing a series of ranking homebrew in general. If that's something you're interested in, leave it in the comments, and I'll put something in my Discord for ranking homebrew. Maybe something where my fans can submit homebrew, and I will make fun of you because that's what I do. What inspired you to create content? What inspired me to create content was boredom. 2019, I started this YouTube channel. I was doing Let's Plays because I was working a job at a sock shop in Toronto, and I was a cashier. But nobody was coming into the shop, so there was just hours. There was like 5 hours of a time. There was nothing to do. So I just started a YouTube channel and I could just edit during that time. I asked my boss, they were like, yeah, go for it. And like, there's no one here. I managed to start editing videos then, and then that just kind of started from there. I finished up my 4th year university, and then after that, the panini happened, and I needed something to do. I've got a bachelor's degree in theater and drama studies and an acting diploma. I'm an entertainer. I like making people laugh. I like making content, like entertaining people. So I just needed to make content. And so I did. I don't know if there's any better way to describe it other than that. What are your biggest pet peeves as a DM? Have you ever had a player you just didn't get along with? Oof, yeah. Biggest pet peeves as a dungeon master? Not paying attention during combat. I realize that combat in Dungeons and Dragons can be kind of slow. But if a player is just like on their phone during other people's turns and just not paying attention to what's happening in the game, it is a pet peeve of mine. Especially when they start going like, oh, what happened? Oh, I wasn't paying attention. Oh, I don't know what's going on. And then they say that they didn't enjoy the session. You know, that is a pet peeve, because some people just straight up don't have the attention spans for Dungeons and Dragons, and that's fine. You don't have to enjoy the game for the combat. I realize it's slow, but if you are going to not engage in the game and then complain about how the game was DM'd, that's gonna tick me off. However, if you're like on your phone because you just straight up can't pay attention and you recognize that as your own thing, then that's fine. Then I'm whatever about it. What is your favorite subclass for 5e and your favorite class? Favorite class, easy peasy lemon squeezy, the fighter. Favorite subclass, the battle master. I slap it on everything. It's the freaking sham wow of Dungeons and Dragons. It's so fun. I like fighter. I like the battle master because it's kind of like having melee spells, if that makes sense. I just like the fighter so much. It's such a simple class. It's so easy to understand, and it's so applicable. You'll never feel like you're being a pain in the ass. You're always going to be useful to party, and that's my favorite thing. I love the fighter. What is your favorite, what's your favorite class to play, homebrew included? Fighter. I don't like homebrew. What's the plan for 7 Seas once the current campaign ends? Plan for 7 Seas once the current campaign ends is, I don't really know. Definitely going to be taking a break for a little bit, because I've been DMing this campaign now for over half a year. It's going to be going up in a year soon. I don't know if I want it to last a year, but I'll see, just because, you know, it's the story. All good stories have an end, and the story is getting close to its end. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out 688's Incorporated YouTube channel in the description. Everything apparently is going to be. And it's a campaign I DM every single Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And once that campaign ends, definitely gonna take a break. I want to free up that time slot in my life just to run some one-shots with some other D&D creators who I haven't really had a chance to DM for, because I spent all my time DMing for my usual Monday campaign. So I definitely want to do some one-shots for a bit, and then after a break, definitely come back to that group. Definitely get back to, and whether it be the same world, different time, or like immediately afterward, like a sequel, or a completely different world, definitely will jump back with that crew, because I love those guys. They're all awesome. If there's a subclass that hasn't happened but really want it to happen, what would it be and why? I believe you mean for Unearthed Arcana, otherwise I don't really know what you're referring to, but for Unearthed Arcana, there was a fighter subclass UA called the Brute. Its mechanic was super simple. It just added in dice to all of your weapon attacks. Every weapon attack that you landed, you got an extra dice on it. It was super simple. I thought it was a little too simple personally, but I want it to be improved upon. I want them to make something better. I like fighter a lot. I like them doing big number damage. I want to see see that mechanic and that idea improved upon and then implemented, because in the state it was in when it was first introduced, it was kind of trash. But I definitely want to see them move forward with that. What are your objectively correct ideas for a viable martial arts class? Basically, how would you change monk? Well, first of all, I wouldn't make it monk. Monk shouldn't be the martial arts class. I wouldn't do monk. Monk isn't the martial arts class necessarily. It's not good for that. But I think the correct way to do martial arts is to make a subclass for the fighter. And I know I'm gonna make the monk mains really upset, but hear me out. Fighter is all about doing damage. Monks are about a sense of zenness, peace, oneness with the self and the battlefield. Fighters are about laying on the hurt. If you want to make a martial arts class, you need to treat it like an MMA fighter. They need to be brutal. They need to not give a shit about the Zen part, they need to be monsters. They need to scale up to a D12 damage dice. Give them definitely better damage dice. Give them something similar to Battle Master techniques. Give them grapples. Allow them to string combos together. Make that a mechanic. They need something. That's what I think you should start with, but you really need to start with the damage dice, because holy shit, monk damage dice is just garbage. Will you ever write a Forever DM themed adventure module? I mean, I don't want to speak in absolutes, but probably. I probably will eventually release a module from the original world of the Forever DM with the great axe that all of you seem to love and care about. Definitely gonna make a campaign about that eventually. Definitely will release it, but that's not for a while. I need to focus on content creation first, but thank you. That's part of it. Will you ever make a stat block for the Sword of Unparalleled Evil? Actually, fun fact, it's already made. But I'm a spiteful poop. So every time someone asks me for it in the comments, I've been pushing it back 3 months. I'm sorry, guys. Zidicus was funny. So I've had it ready since February. Currently, its release date is slated for January of 2022. So we'll see. Have you ever played a game where the DM had total control over your character and you don't know anything besides the backstory / idea you gave him? I've never done that. Seems like a neat idea. I like character creation, so I don't know. I don't want my DM slamming me with a class I don't like playing. Played all of them. I have my favorites. Can we see the story of how the Rogue DM became the Rogue DM? Yeah, that's on my TikTok. Just go to my TikTok, go back to like a year. And there it'll be. Maybe I'll post it on my YouTube just for sake of it existing. What is your favorite pet to have in a D&D campaign? I like monkeys. As a sorcerer main who loves and hates sorcerer, I've tried a lot of different things to buff sorcerers when I run games. What would you suggest as a little buff that helps them along? Yeah, there's nothing little you can do. Like I said in the earlier thing, you need to complete overhaul the meta magic. You need to make it scale to 11th level and then 17th level. What are some of your favorite characters you've made? Some of your favorite subclasses? Favorite character I've made? Ziller O'Crack. I play him every Thursday at twitch.tv/longshotrpg at 8 p.m. Eastern. Great time. Big fan. Will you be making any more merch items? Maybe for 7 Seas? I definitely venture inspired build. There's not really a build you need to do. Just go Astral Self Monk. That's a JoJo character. I guess if you go Echo Knight, that's also Echo Knight is actually Astral Self though. It's actually a JoJo character though. Unarmed fighting Echo Knight. Yeah, I guess unarmed fighting Echo Knight. There you go. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What's the best full caster build? Level 20 wizard? What's the hardest class for you to multi-class with? Ooh, good question. Simple answer though, it's monk. And this is not just because of my hate boner for monk that apparently all of you think I have. The main problem with monks is they have a resource that scales exclusively with their own stuff. Key points you gain with levels in monk, and key points can only be used on monk abilities. And the monk abilities that you can use them on at lower levels is Flurry of Blows, Patient Defense, and Step of the Wind. So getting an extra burst of speed can be useful, but then you should just be a rogue, and then you'd have sneak attack damage, which doesn't even require a resource, right? Flurry of Blows does not scale with any other class except for Fighter. The Flurry of Blows requires you will only be doing like a d4 of damage, and there are usually far better things for you to use your bonus action on. It's just not a good class to multi-class into or out of. If you're being a monk, be a full leveled monk, maybe slap on 2 levels of fighter. What is your favorite house rule / homebrew? My favorite house rule, homebrew, is my personal magic item system called charge stones. Basically, they're materia from Final Fantasy VII. You can slot them onto your weapons. Weapons have a certain number of slots on them. You can use them to cast spells, but they always work as a bonus action, and they handle concentration for you, which can be very broken, I know, but it does have its own sort of balancing system, and the items can break. And also you have to recharge them so once you expend a spell slot into them, you've expended a spell slot. I like using this system because it gives my casters more flexibility, and also you can give it to fighters and other you can give those weapons to fighters and other strict martials to give them some pretty sick spell casting as well. How long have you been playing D&D? Forever. What was your first end session like?
Hey, I have my lemonade.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sweetie.
I'm kidding.
I'm glad you put up with me for the sake of content. Do you prefer being a player or a dungeon master? Everybody knows I'm a player. I like being a dungeon master and a player. I just get in moods where I like being a player more than a dungeon master. Do you like being a player or a dungeon master, sweetie?
I haven't tried being a DM, but it seems too stressful, like too much work.
It's a lot of work. What's your favorite barbarian subclass and why? My favorite barbarian subclass is... I don't really like barbarian too much, so I'm not very attached to it. I like the totem barbarian because the totem bear barbarian gives you resistance to all damage except for psychic. So that means you'll still struggle on the math questions, but at least you won't die by a chainsaw. Do you allow homebrew in your campaigns, or do you just stick to the official stuff? I do allow homebrew. But yeah, I allow homebrew in my campaigns. If it's my homebrew, I will allow it. If it's because I know what I've made, and so therefore I can balance around it. If it's someone else's homebrew, it has to pass my test. And my test is, can I make it with the already pre-existing classes? If I can, you play that instead. So, because most homebrew sucks. Actually, all homebrew sucks. So, including my own. I know how mine sucks, but other people's I cannot speak for. Why is the fighter your favorite subclass, your favorite class in D&D? Cause it's so simple. It's like toast. You can just put it in everything. You can always eat it if you're hungry. That's it. What's your favorite class in D&D?
I don't know.
Pick one.
Pick one for me. I don't know. I like the fairies.
The fairy? That's not a class.
I know.
There's a fairy race that's coming out in a new D&D book.
That's cool.
Maybe we'll make you a fairy. Favorite class and why is it barbarian? It's not barbarian, so I don't know what you're talking about. What is your favorite multi-class for the fighter? Like if you're a fighter into another class. Ooh, wizard! Nothing is funnier than fireballing like 40 dudes and then action surging and doing it again. It's really funny. You should ask my dungeon master Pfeffers about that. He's experienced that and he didn't like it very much. What's your favorite?
Sorry, I'm just sitting and drinking my lemonade. That's why I got the lemonade. So I could just sit and zone out and drink lemonade. No, like I'm thinking about shit.
And you need it to be in the video to do
yeah.
that?
So what was the question? What's my favorite what?
Multi-class for the fighter.
I don't know. I played D&D once.
Why don't you wait until I'm done, then we can go and hang out after I'm done the video.
Aww, why?
Because you're just sitting here. I don't want you to be bored.
I'm not bored. I'm like thinking about life.
You're just like distracting the audience. You're just gonna be sitting here prettier than me, and then they're not gonna listen to me.
Fine, I guess I'll leave.
Okay, sweetie.
So much for my attempt at becoming internet famous.
Babe, you have more followers than me.
I'm kidding.
Go outside. I'll see you soon. I love you, baby.
Love you too. See how it is.
What is your favorite character you've ever played? I've already answered that question. Have you ever played 3.5e? And if not, would you be interested in a game module otherwise? 3.5 terrifies me. You guys have got like 40th level characters. Everyone's always like, oh, 5e's got way too high a power level. 3.5 is insane. I hate 3. It's terrifying. How'd you get into D&D? Already answered that. How much do you love the fireball? Very much. What gives you inspiration for your videos? Playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends, really. Sometimes I just sit down and go, this is funny. Since you rank the classes video Monk is the worst class, but you still have fun playing it, how would you go about making it fun for yourself? Because I recently killed off my Monk in my current campaign because he wasn't enjoyable to play. I was wondering if I could have done what I could have done differently. You gotta acknowledge that you're not gonna be dealing a lot of damage as you get into the higher levels. You're good at lower levels, but you're gonna be ass as you start playing to level 8, level 9, level 10 onwards, you just fall off. So you just gotta acknowledge that you're gonna be ass and you're gonna be spending ki like a motherfucker. How you enjoy playing it is you gotta play to its strengths, and that is Stunning Strike. It's all it's really got. It's really good, but landing Stunning Strike can be a very useful way for you to still have fun and still have a lot of impact in the game, because you're one of the few classes that gets access to stun early on. So use that on targets, use your Stunning Strike strategically, use your stun as try and save your key points exclusively for Stunning Strike, so that whenever you see someone casting a spell, bam, Stunning Strike. Now they're incapacitated, as so the stun condition makes you incapacitated as well. How does it feel to be internet famous? I'm 100,000 followers is not internet famous, and I don't feel like it is anyway. It's certainly a lot of people, and it's awesome, but I mean, like, I can still go out in the street and no one recognizes me. So I'm not really famous. I'm just a guy. Have you played a support character? I've played numerous. I've played some support clerics. I've made a whole support build. What made you choose the name Offbeat Outlaw? Ah, yes. So this is because I wanted the name Outlaw. I knew I wanted that because I'd written in my 3rd year of university. I'd written a play, a one person show, and it was about an outlaw. And I really liked the character that I'd made, so I wanted to carry some of them forward. So I knew Outlaw had to be part of the name, and then I just needed a first part. And I went through Obnoxious Outlaw was thrown around for a while. I kind of like that one. Obtuse Outlaw, but that one I was like, no one fucking knows. What the fuck is an obtuse? So eventually I settled with Offbeat. Offbeat's kind of become my moniker in a way. Any tips on getting into a D&D group? Hop on my Discord. There's tons of D&D groups there. Ask to join one, see if anyone will pick you up. Why were you outlawed? You a fucking narc? What is the square root of pi? Do I look like a calculator? What was the inspiration for 7C's 6 Idiots? The inspiration for that campaign was Lovecraft. Lovecraft is a very I use their work a lot. They were a very influential sci-fi creator, as well as just a writer in general. Regardless of the fact that they were arguably not a very good person, they've definitely made some influential work. And that campaign is very heavily based off of Lovecraft and symbolist storytelling, which is a way of storytelling in which you give everything symbols, and everything symbolizes something else. Maybe I'll go into symbolist storytelling and how that inform my work in a video, but it's not an easy process. A lot of it also just comes from my own brain. What is your favorite race in D&D? Human Variant Fighter. It's the best one. Variant Human was my favorite for a while, and it still is, because Variant Humans are poggers. I like the idea of humans holding their own even against the monsters of the world. It's pretty nice. For the Fireball! And where do you get inspiration for your campaigns? My brain. I don't really know. Reading books, reading plays. Like I said, I have a bachelor's degree in theater and drama studies, so I've read a lot of plays and literature. And a lot of inspiration just comes from other work. That's where everything comes from. Where's Tony 2 now? At university. He stayed there. Do you have any tips for being a DM? Go with the flow. Let it happen. Improvise. Plan as much as you need to. Don't plan any more than you have to. The best parts of Dungeons and Dragons is that anything can happen. And if you are too strictly following a rule book or a set of instructions, you are going to be bogarting the fun. So let your players influence what happens. Have a great time. Don't get too stressed. And with that, that concludes the video. So that was a fun little AMA. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for being here. If you somehow managed to find me through this video, sup homie. Thank you for being here. Be sure to subscribe, like and subscribe, send this to your friends, get the fuck out of my house.